Every single day, more than 100,000 pounds of raisins roll out of the Sun-Maid factory, cleaned, sorted, packed, and shipped to grocery stores across the globe. That's enough raisins to fill nearly 3 million tiny red snack boxes every 24 hours. But how does it happen? How does a plump, juicy grape transform into a perfectly chewy raisin? And how does a single company pull this off at such an enormous scale? Let's step inside one of the most iconic fruit factories in the world and follow the journey of the humble raisin from vineyard to vacuum-sealed box. Welcome to the Sun-Maid factory. Before it became a household name, Sun-Maid was a local cooperative of raisin growers in California's San Joaquin Valley. Founded in 1912 as the California Associated Raisin Company, the organization brought together over 1,000 farmers to stabilize prices and promote their product. But everything changed in 1915 when a young model named Lorraine Collette posed for a watercolor portrait while holding a basket of grapes. Wearing a red bonnet and framed by California sunshine, she became the face of the brand. That image became the official Sun-Maid girl, one of the most recognizable food mascots in American history. In 1922, the company adopted the name Sun-Maid Growers of California and opened a massive processing facility in Fresno, where it remains headquartered today. What began as a cooperative effort to market sun-dried grapes is now a global agricultural powerhouse, still farmer-owned, still headquartered in California, and still producing raisins by the ton every single day. But behind the red bonnet is a logistical marvel of modern food engineering, one that transforms grapes into a timeless snack at industrial scale. Raisins might seem old-fashioned in a world filled with protein bars and exotic superfoods, but they've stood the test of time for a reason. First, they're naturally sweet, loaded with natural sugars that don't require any added processing. Second, they don't spoil easily. With a shelf life that can stretch over a year without refrigeration, raisins are the original grab-and-go snack. But beyond that, they're incredibly versatile. Raisins are used in everything from cereals and granola bars to baked goods, salads, and savory dishes. You'll find them in cinnamon rolls, rice pilafs, trail mixes, and holiday stuffing. They're also a key export. Sun-Maid ships its raisins to over 50 countries around the globe. And in schools, those little red Sun-Maid boxes have become a lunchbox classic for generations of kids. The enduring popularity of raisins isn't just about taste, it's about utility. They pack easily, last long, and work across countless recipes and cuisines. In a world chasing newer, flashier snacks, raisins have carved out a quiet kind of dominance. They don't need a marketing gimmick, they just work. It all begins in California's Central Valley, an agricultural powerhouse that produces over 90% of the United States raisins. Sun-Maid sources most of its fruit from the Thompson seedless grape, a variety prized for its thin skin, lack of seeds, and high sugar content. These grapes are grown in vast, sun-soaked vineyards that stretch for miles. When harvest season arrives, usually in late summer, growers have two main options: traditional hand harvesting or mechanical picking. Some still use the classic method, cutting bunches by hand and laying them on paper trays to dry in the sun. Others use machines that gently shake the vines, sending grapes tumbling onto catching frames for faster collection. Regardless of the method, timing is everything. Grapes need to reach peak ripeness, high sugar, firm skin, no mold. Once harvested, they're rushed to drying stages or delivered directly to the processing plant, depending on the method used. Every crate of grapes marks the beginning of a journey that will take them from vine to vacuum-sealed box in just a matter of days. Traditionally, raisins were dried by simply laying grapes out on paper trays under the sun. The heat would slowly evaporate the moisture, transforming plump grapes into wrinkled, chewy raisins over several weeks. Sun-Maid still uses this method for some of its products, and it's where the company gets its name. Sun-drying is simple, natural, and effective, but it's not always consistent. That's why modern factories like Sun-Maid's now rely heavily on tunnel drying. Tunnel drying uses massive chambers where temperature, humidity, and airflow are tightly controlled. Grapes travel through these tunnels on conveyor belts or racks, and instead of taking weeks to dry, the process is completed in a matter of hours. This approach offers a key advantage: consistency. Every batch ends up with the same moisture content, color, and texture, no matter what the weather is like outside. It also allows the factory to scale. When you're processing over 100,000 pounds of raisins daily, you can't afford to rely on the weather. So while the California sun still plays a part in the process, technology has taken over, bringing precision to a practice that once depended on patience. Once the raisins are dried, whether by sun or tunnel, they're delivered to the Sun-Maid factory in bulk. We're talking about truckloads weighing tens of thousands of pounds, each filled with dark, wrinkled fruit. But before any raisin can be boxed and shipped, it has to go through a gauntlet of inspections and cleaning. The process starts with unloading. Conveyor belts move raisins into massive intake systems where they're weighed, logged, and assigned tracking codes for traceability. From there, the raisins begin their journey through a series of high-speed machines. First, vibration screens and sieves remove loose stems, dirt, and pebbles. Then come optical sorters, computer-guided cameras that detect raisins that are too small, too light, too dark, or too damaged. Those are blasted off the conveyor belt with precise jets of air. Air classifiers lift away lighter debris like leaves and twigs. Magnets pull out any stray metal that might have entered the batch during harvesting or transport. This stage doesn't just improve the quality of the final product, it's essential for food safety. Every second, thousands of raisins are scanned, sorted, and cleaned at a pace no human could match. What emerges from this phase is a stream of clean, uniform raisins, ready for the next stage. Even after the initial cleaning, raisins aren't quite ready for packaging. They need to be washed, and sometimes rehydrated. Why? Because during drying, sugar crystals form on the surface of the fruit. Combined with dust from the vineyards and natural residue, it creates a gritty texture and dull appearance. To fix that, the raisins are soaked in warm water baths. These large stainless steel tanks tumble the fruit gently, loosening any remaining debris and dissolving those sugar crystals. But here's where things get interesting. Sun-Maid also lightly rehydrates the raisins. Rehydration helps restore that perfect chewy texture. Without it, raisins could feel tough or brittle, especially after sitting on store shelves for months. The factory carefully controls how much water is added back in, typically bringing moisture content up just a few percentage points. Once they're soft enough, the raisins are drained and sent through a second drying tunnel to stabilize the moisture and prevent spoilage. It's a delicate balance. Too little water and they're hard, too much and they'll mold. But get it right and you've got that signature Sun-Maid chew. At this point, the raisins may look ready, but Sun-Maid doesn't take any chances. Quality control is one of the most critical parts of the entire operation. The cleaned and rehydrated raisins move on to grading lines, where they're sorted by size, color, and texture. Optical sensors measure each raisin down to the millimeter. Too large? Too small? Off color. It gets sorted into a different stream. Moisture sensors check random samples to make sure the raisins hit that perfect moisture range, typically around 15 to 17%. If it's too high, they go back for another quick dry. Too low, and they might be lightly rehydrated again. Then come the human testers. Trained inspectors pull samples at regular intervals. They look for everything the machines might miss: damaged skins, foreign matter, or signs of fermentation. They also check the taste, smell, and bite of the raisins. The highest grade raisins are destined for those iconic red boxes on grocery store shelves. Lower grades might go to bulk packaging, baked goods, or food service clients. Nothing is wasted, but only the best become Sun-Maid branded. With quality assured, the raisins move into one of the most mesmerizing parts of the factory, the packaging line. Here, gravity-fed hoppers dispense precise amounts of raisins into funnels, which drop the product into packaging machines. Whether it's a single-ounce snack box or a 2-pound resealable pouch, everything is measured to the gram. Tiny red boxes are folded, filled, sealed, and stamped with lot codes, all in one continuous motion. Larger bags are nitrogen flushed to remove oxygen, extending shelf life without the need for preservatives. Sun-Maid's packaging lines are fully automated and capable of producing tens of thousands of units per hour. Sensors confirm weight, seal integrity, and label placement on every package. Any anomalies trigger automatic rejection and rerouting. Once sealed, boxes are loaded into cartons, stacked on pallets, and wrapped in plastic film for transport. From there, they're sent to Sun-Maid's massive distribution warehouse, or shipped directly to retailers, wholesalers, and international distributors. From grapevine to grocery aisle, the journey is nearly complete. Processing over 100,000 pounds of fruit each day inevitably generates waste, but Sun-Maid has systems in place to make sure very little goes to landfill. Stems, leaves, and other organic debris are collected and sent to composting facilities or used in livestock feed. Subgrade raisins, which don't meet appearance standards but are still edible, are often sold in bulk to bakeries or food processors. The wash water used during cleaning and rehydration is filtered, treated, and reused within the factory for multiple cycles before being released or replaced. Cardboard, plastic wrap, and packaging trimmings are sorted and recycled. Even the dust captured by ventilation systems is collected and disposed of safely to reduce airborne contaminants in the facility. Sun-Maid is also investing in solar energy and energy-efficient equipment to reduce its carbon footprint. Their Fresno facility includes solar panel arrays and high-efficiency motors to reduce power consumption. At this scale, sustainability isn't just good PR, it's essential business strategy. It's easy to overlook what goes into the food we eat, especially something as small and familiar as a raisin. But behind every Sun-Maid box is a vast network of farmers, engineers, and machines working in harmony to turn California grapes into a global staple. And Sun-Maid itself? It's come a long way from its humble roots in 1912, when a few hundred growers banded together to sell sun-dried fruit. Today, the company produces over 100,000 pounds of raisins every single day, feeding millions of people in over 50 countries. That red bonnet on the box isn't just a logo, it's a symbol of scale, tradition, and innovation. The next time you open a pack of raisins, take a second to think about where it came from. The vineyards, the drying tunnels, the optical sorters, the packing lines. Because inside every raisin is a story, one baked by the sun, polished by technology, and sealed with over a century of experience.